Item 8S is a resolution asking the Urban Renewal Authority to do a hotel study. Comments or questions here?
We have a brief presentation that we'd like to provide to the City Council this morning about the Convention Center Hotel project and process to make sure that you understand kind of the process that we're considering to move this project forward. First of all, we provided you with a copy of the handouts, and I'm Kathy O'Connor. I'm the Executive Director of the Urban Renewal Authority and the President of the Alliance for Economic Development. The first thing that I want to point out to you that this is the beginning of a process, and this is really the very first step in evaluating the Convention Center Hotel feasibility for Oklahoma City. The Convention Center Hotel project was mentioned as a part of the MAPS 3 campaign literature and campaign materials as a part of the Phase 1 development of a new convention center. But in order to begin that process, we wanted to go through the analysis and all of the feasibility studies that are necessary to make sure that we know the size of the Convention Center Hotel that's appropriate for Oklahoma City, whether or not that facility will need meeting room space, and then to begin to do the financial projections so that we have a better idea of whether or not we want to go forward with this project. This morning, the item that's before you proposes to designate the Urban Renewal Authority as the agent to lead the redevelopment or the development of a convention center hotel. This is a process that is similar to what we did with the Skirvin Hotel, where the Urban Renewal Authority was designated as the entity to act on the city's behalf to redevelop the hotel and assemble a team of people to help make that happen. The first steps that we are proposing that the city undertake as a part of the evaluation of a convention center hotel is, first of all, to complete a market study. We have retained consultants through the Alliance to look at MAPS 3 projects and prepare a market study of all aspects of real estate development in adjacent areas to MAPS 3 projects, such as the Court Shore area or areas adjacent to the new convention center site. That market study includes retail, office, residential, and other commercial development, and it also had a hospitality component. So one of the aspects of the presentation today will be a presentation by that market study consultant so that you know where we are with that process, which is also just in the beginning phases. The other part of the resolution before you today proposes to amend the city's agreement with Public Financial Management. And Public Financial Management is the city's independent financial advisory firm, assists you with all of the different bond issues that the city undertakes, general obligation bond issues, revenue bond issues. They also have a public-private partnership component of their firm, and we're proposing to amend the PFM contract to include some additional services to retain PFM to help us with the evaluation of the Convention Center Hotel. So we also have PFM here, Tom Morsch from their Public-Private Partnership Office, to make a presentation to you and describe what the process will be as we move forward with PFM. And after that, I'll ask Jeremy Stone to come forward and talk a little bit about the market study.
Okay. Ed, and then James.
I think a couple of things, and first I need to address the idea. If you're asking to make it clear what we want in this study is, above all, paramount is transparency and a full public disclosure of everything that we're doing. I really take issue with the idea that this was fully vetted in MAPS 3. I really take issue with that this was in the campaign literature, and it's really pouring salt in the wound to some extent to lead off with that, since it was brought up. I mean, I would just invite anyone, go to the YouTube videos of MAPS 3. Go to one called About MAPS 3. It's about 6 minutes and 3 seconds long. Go to the 4 minute and 2 second mark where we start talking about the convention center. What was promised is that when the convention center was completed, we would add 700 jobs and triple the amount of convention business, even though no city in the country has ever been able to triple its convention business. No city in the country has ever been able to double its convention business. There was no mention of a hotel, and that no hotel in the last decade, of which there is lots of data, has been able to be built without massive taxpayer subsidies. That was not mentioned. And to give the impression that it was in any way is not okay. We had a study that talked about it, the Convention, Sports, and Leisure study, that to this day has not been released to the public. We have withheld that study which talks about this, the only study, we have withheld that from the public. And so the idea that there's been maximum transparency in vetting with the public is not okay. The idea that we're talking about spending $100,000 on a consultant who mentions not once but twice the possibility that we could eliminate public subsidies is stunning. Stunning. Because there is so much data, and it has cost governments so much to get these projects done. Nashville, Tennessee, which came online this week, financed half of the construction costs, $128 million, and property tax abatements for 20 years. Washington, D.C., 1,200-room hotel next year, bonds for 50% of the construction costs. Columbus and Cleveland, fully public financed. My understanding is that with the 86 Tax Reform Act, cities you can't just use normal revenue bonds. You've got to have a nonprofit that issues things like revenue bonds. And that entity would have to own the hotel, would have to issue the revenue bonds and own the hotel. Are we ready for that? That's what Phoenix, San Antonio, Baltimore have all done. They've all created the Phoenix Downtown Convention Authority. Is that what we're prepared to do? Because that's what we're going to have to do if it goes towards revenue bonds, which we don't have enough TIF dollars. We can't use MAPS 3. I mean, that would appear to be where we're headed. But the problem is that Wall Street and bond rating agencies are no longer going to accept, as they did in the past, that you can just pledge the revenue from the hotel to get your bond. That's not good enough anymore because these hotels so consistently underperform, with the prototype example being the Renaissance Inn Hotel in St. Louis, which is now in foreclosure. So you can't pledge the revenue of the hotel anymore. You've got to have a coverage ratio of 1.5 to 1. You've got to have a revenue stream that's above, 50% above what is needed for debt service. And what that means is that cities are having to pledge a dedicated revenue source to supplement whatever revenue the hotel generates. You can't do it, or you haven't been able to do it any other way. Columbus dedicated all their parking meter revenue. Baltimore and San Antonio have donated a significant portion of their hotel and motel tax. Dallas, part of their general fund. Phoenix, their car rental tax. What revenue stream are 5 of us ready to commit? What dedicated funding source are 5 of us ready to commit to backstop revenue bonds owned by a nonprofit outside of the city of Oklahoma City, or come up with $100, $150, $200 million to finance 50% or more of the construction costs? That's the kind of money that we're talking about. So without having any idea of where our existing downtown hotel stock is, have we talked to our downtown hotel stock? Are they worried about government coming in and subsidizing an entity and competing against them? Have we heard from them at this point in the process? I'm not sure why these are done in parallel. This is a tremendous amount of money. I've looked at as many convention center hotel studies as I can in the last 10 years. I haven't seen any performed by Mr. Stone. I have seen, he worked at PKF before. Very, very few. I can't find any, but I've been told they've done some limited numbers of work on convention center hotels. I haven't seen a financing study. or how to finance hotels. So I'm wondering why these need to be done in parallel, which would seem to me to predetermine the outcome. Is there a reason that we can't do the market analysis, which is, I'm reading here, is going to determine the size, and then figure out what we're trying to finance? Are we trying to finance a 350-room hotel, a 600-room, 1,000? What kind of subsidy is going to be required? What are we trying to finance? It would seem that you'd do the market analysis, which would take 2 months, and then do the $100,000 study if we're all in agreement that we want to move forward. And so that would be my question. Would there be a downside to doing them sequentially as opposed to parallel?
We can do them sequentially if that's what the City Council desires. I had mentioned that they could be done parallel so that we could meet with all of you and get your thoughts and objectives and any questions that you had while the market study was being completed. But if the council desires to do them sequentially, we certainly can do it that way.